When I was 14, my mom told me to step out of the family photo because I didn't fit in. She smiled for the camera like nothing happened while I stood to the side, trying hard not to cry. That night, I skipped dinner and sat alone in my room, sketching a world where I finally belonged. Years later, that world became my reality, and it made headlines. She wasn't in the picture anymore. My name is Elena Park. And this is the story of how my mother made me feel like I never belonged, and how I built a life so bright it blinded her. When I was little, I didn't think I was invisible. Not at first. I was quiet, sure, but I got good grades, cleaned up after myself, and never asked for much. I was the kind of kid who sat silently in the back seat while the adults talked. For a while, that seemed to keep everyone happy. Then Carla married Rick, and everything changed. Rick had 2 kids, Brooke and Jared. They were loud, athletic, and loved being the center of attention. Carla called them a breath of fresh air. Suddenly, the walls of our home were covered with pictures of soccer trophies, dance recitals, and sunny family outings. My drawings, the sketches I had framed and hung down the hallway, disappeared one by one. In their place were smiling shots of the new family. No one said a word. Not even when I asked. Carla loved showing off online, matching outfits, brunch photos, carefully filtered smiles. But in those posts, I was always missing, cropped out, blurred, or caught mid-blink in the corner. I tried to ask her once. "Do you not want me in the pictures?" I said while she scrolled through filters on her phone. She sighed like I'd just asked her to move a mountain. "Elena, don't make everything such a big deal." "You're too sensitive." That was Carla's favorite line. "You're too sensitive." As if caring about being left out was some sort of flaw. As if I should just be thankful to exist quietly in the background. After that, I stopped asking. Holidays were the hardest. Rick's kids got new bikes and iPads. I got socks or notebooks. One Christmas, Brooke and Jared unwrapped matching jackets while I got a journal with my name spelled wrong on the cover. Carla smiled and said, "You like to draw, don't you?" I wanted to disappear. It wasn't the gifts that hurt. It was the way she acted like it was normal. Like I was ungrateful for not clapping over something cheap while everyone else got what they wanted. But not everyone ignored it. My grandmother, Carla's mom, lived a few towns away in a little house with wind chimes on the porch. Her name was June. She had silver streaks in her hair and always smelled like cinnamon tea. She called me Lena and said I had my grandfather's hands, strong and steady, made for creating. She never made me explain myself. She just saw me, and that was enough. When things got bad at home, I'd spend weekends at Grandma June's. Carla never minded. Honestly, she seemed relieved to have one less person to fit into her curated, picture-perfect life at Grandma's. I could breathe. She noticed I was always drawing. Faces, buildings, clothes, and asked if I'd ever thought about graphic design. I told her I didn't even know what that was. The next week, she signed me up for a free weekend class at the library. Then another, and another. "Don't let anyone shrink your world, Lena," she said one night while we sat under a blanket watching old movies. "You're bigger than they want you to believe." Carla never asked where I went or what I was learning. If she noticed I was getting better at design, she didn't say a word. One day, she tossed me a shopping list. "Make yourself useful," she said. "Pick these up while I take Brooke to her modeling audition." I glanced at the list. Shampoo, snacks, candles, all name brands, of course. She shoved a $10 bill into my hand. When I pointed out it wasn't enough, she rolled her eyes. "Then use your own money. You're always at Grandma's. I'm sure she spoils you." That was the moment I realized Carla didn't see me as her daughter. Just something to manage. A kid who didn't match her image. And if I didn't fit, I didn't matter. I started journaling more, sketching later into the night, planning an escape I didn't even have a name for yet. Grandma June told me to save every drawing, every idea. One day, she said, "You'll show the world what they missed." She was right. But back then, I was just a kid with a pencil and a heavy heart. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to belong somewhere. High school made it official. I wasn't just overlooked. I was invisible. Carla had mastered the art of pretending I wasn't there. If I got an A, she barely looked up. But when Brooke made honor roll, she posted about it like her daughter had saved the world. Brooke and Jared were Rick's kids, my step-siblings. When Carla married Rick, it was like she rebranded the family. We were the Bradfords now, not the Parks. Not me. She even changed their last names to his. Mine stayed the same. I didn't argue. I just stopped trying to be seen. They went on ski trips in the winter and beach vacations in the summer. You don't like cold weather, Carla said when I asked why I wasn't invited. The next year, it was, you burn too easily. Eventually, she stopped pretending altogether. It's just easier when it's the four of us. So while they smiled for sunset beach photos, I packed a bag and stayed with Grandma June. Grandma June was my mother's mom, but you'd never guess they were related. She lived in a tiny yellow house with creaky wooden floors and the soft scent of lavender floating through every room. Her hands were always warm, smelling faintly of soap, and she never asked me to pose or smile for pictures. She'd just hand me a plate of cookies and say softly, "Let it out." And I would. That house is where I started to draw for real. I had this old iPad, probably something passed down from Carla's pile of re-gifted stuff. Using a $9 stylus from the clearance section, I started sketching, fashion logos, fake magazine ads, anything that made me feel like I was building something that mattered. Something that couldn't be edited or cropped out of a photo. One Saturday afternoon, Grandma noticed. She walked into the room while I was designing a pretend coffee brand poster and sat beside me quietly. After studying my screen, she asked, "Have you ever thought about doing this for real?" I shrugged. "It's just something I like." She didn't push. She just smiled and said, "Keep everything you make. We'll need it later." That's how it started. Every weekend, I brought my digital sketches to Grandma's house. She'd print them out, slip them into plastic sleeves, and keep them in a big leather binder she proudly called Elena's Book of Brilliance. At first, I thought it was silly. But later, that book would mean everything. In my junior year of high school, Grandma June signed me up for a digital design class at the community center downtown. Carla had already said no. Too expensive, she claimed, right after spending $400 on a designer purse for Brooke's birthday. So Grandma paid for it herself. She even arranged rides for me so Carla wouldn't find out. I think she always knew I'd need a way out, and one afternoon, she proved it. After school, I sat at her kitchen table talking about how my counselor said I could apply to art colleges if I built a strong portfolio. I was excited but afraid to hope too much. When I mentioned it at home, Carla just laughed. "Design? That's not a real job, Elena," but Grandma didn't laugh. She stood up, walked into her room, and I heard drawers opening. When she returned, she was holding a sealed envelope. She slid it across the table and said, "Your grandfather set up a small education fund. I've been adding to it over the years. It's in your name." I was just waiting for the right time. I just stared at her. "You're going to college, Elena," she said, like it was already decided. And I did. I applied to 6 schools, got accepted into 3, and chose a top visual design program at a private university 3 states away, on a full scholarship. The acceptance letter came in a thick, shiny envelope. Carla never opened it. She didn't even notice it in the mail. I left the day after graduation. No party, no family photos, just Grandma and me, packing my thrifted suitcase and boarding a bus towards something new. College was the first place I truly felt seen. My roommate, Tessa, was loud, messy, and completely obsessed with my art. She showed my designs to a friend who worked at a local boutique. And suddenly, I got my first freelance job designing their seasonal lookbook. After that, everything started moving fast. A local ad agency hired me part-time. Then a brand consulting firm offered me a summer internship. I worked late nights, gave up weekends, and built my portfolio piece by piece, while Carla kept posting polished brunch photos with captions like, "Family first." I stayed silent. 4 years later, I graduated summa cum laude. Job offers were waiting before I even crossed the stage. One came from CNV, a well-known marketing firm famous for launching major fashion and lifestyle brands. Their creative director had seen my student work at a national design conference and emailed me directly. "Elena," he wrote, "your sense of storytelling is extraordinary. Let's talk." I didn't tell Carla. She thought I was working at some small cafe. Instead, I quietly moved into a tiny city apartment near the firm and began building a career no one could erase. The years went by. I climbed the ladder, from junior designer to art director, and by 27, to lead creative strategist. I bought my own apartment, took Grandma June to Paris for her birthday, paid off her house, got a little dog named Pepper, who wore boots in the winter. Carla was still posting her perfect family selfies with Brooke and Jared, pretending like I didn't exist. And then everything shifted. It was a Thursday morning when the call came. I was in the break room, sipping coffee and finalizing a pitch deck when my assistant knocked. Channel 7 confirmed. You're going live next week. They want to feature you in their Young Visionaries segment. I almost dropped my mug. The episode aired the following Monday. A cozy set, smiling anchors. Me, talking about creative storytelling, brand identity, and my journey. From the girl who was never seen to the woman who made a name for herself. They even showed a few of my old college sketches. Of course, Grandma June had kept everything. Every printout, every drawing, like she knew this day would come. When the interview aired, the comments poured in. So inspiring. What talent? Where has she been hiding? Carla found out the same way everyone else did. She was hosting a brunch to celebrate Jared getting his real estate license when my face appeared on the TV screen. I wasn't there to see it, but I can picture it perfectly. Her fork frozen midair, Brooke blinking in shock, Jared cracking a bad joke to fill the silence. Because suddenly I wasn't invisible anymore. I was everywhere. Magazine features, LinkedIn spotlights, a campaign billboard in Times Square. The same girl she told to stay out of the picture had just become the face of an entire creative movement. And that was only the beginning. 3 days later, a message appeared on my phone. Elena, it's your mother. My 50th birthday is next month. We're having brunch at Belmore Gardens. You probably haven't heard of it, very exclusive. Be there at 11 a.m. sharp, don't embarrass me, no hello? No, I'm proud of you. Just a command wrapped around a subtle insult. Classic Carla. I almost deleted it. Instead, I laughed, not out of bitterness, but disbelief. 13 years of silence, and this was her grand return. A brunch invitation disguised as a royal decree. That night, over tea in Grandma June's kitchen, I told her about the message. She didn't say much, just raised an eyebrow and asked, "So what are you bringing her?" I smiled and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a gift certificate, an all-inclusive luxury spa retreat in the Swiss Alps. Private chef, mountain view suite, chauffeur service, easily worth 5 figures. Grandma nearly dropped her teacup. Elena, she doesn't deserve this. Oh, I know, I said, taking another sip of tea. I'm not giving it to her. I just want her to see what she gave up. Grandma chuckled softly. You really are your own kind of wicked. The morning of the brunch, I dressed simply. A black jumpsuit, a gold necklace, and clean shoes. No designer logos, no loud colors. Just quiet confidence, the kind that turns heads after it's already gone. Belmore Gardens was exactly what I expected. Fake fancy. Watered-down mimosas, overpriced decor that looked luxurious only if you'd never left town. The hostess led me to the private garden room, where everyone was already seated. Brooke, Jared, Rick, and a few faces from my teenage years. Carla sat at the head of the table, draped in gold sequins and self-importance. When she saw me, she blinked like she'd seen a ghost. "Oh, you actually came," she said with a forced smile. "You could have dressed up more." I just nodded and took the seat farthest from her. The brunch played out like a low-budget soap opera. Brooke gave Carla a custom jewelry box. Jared handed over a monogrammed designer tote. Each gift was met with fake tears and exaggerated delight. Then it was my turn. I reached into my purse and set a small, neatly wrapped box in front of her. No speech, no drama. Just a soft, happy birthday. Carla eyed it suspiciously. This better not be one of those minimalist gifts people brag about online. Honestly, Elena, you show up in basic clothes, take a taxi, and now this. She didn't even open the box. Just shoved it back toward me with a sneer. You always had a knack for disappointment. The room fell silent. Even Brooke shifted uncomfortably, picked up the box, brushed off a crumb, and said, "That's a certificate for a luxury retreat in Switzerland. The kind of place people go to escape the noise." Carla's face drained of color. "You're lying." "I was going to give it to you," I said quietly, slipping it back into my purse. "But now I realize you don't want me. You only want what I can give you." "You always have." I stood, adjusted my jacket, and gave her one last look. "You told me to stay out of the picture, so I did. But I didn't disappear. I just got sharper. Then I walked out." No one followed. A taxi was waiting outside. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Carla rushing toward the door, phone in hand. I knew she was already dialing. I didn't answer. For 2 weeks, messages poured in. Let's talk. You overreacted. We're still family. Brooke needs help with branding. Maybe you can collaborate. We're redoing the kitchen. Could use a creative eye. Each message more see-through than the last. I blocked her on everything. But she still showed up, this time at Grandma June's house, fake tears in her eyes, pleading. Grandma didn't flinch. You gave up your daughter years ago. Don't act surprised that she doesn't want you now. That night, I sat on the porch watching the city lights shimmer through the trees. I pulled the Swiss retreat certificate from my bag and smiled. I changed the name, I said quietly. Grandma blinked. What? It's yours now. You always wanted to see the Alps. Her mouth fell open. Elena, I don't need this. I took her hand and smiled. You don't need it. But you deserve it. You saw me when no one else did. You called me brilliant. You kept every page. She started to cry. That's what mothers do. I let her. For the first time in years, I felt full. Not flashy or picture perfect, just quietly, peacefully enough. Carla still tells people I'm ungrateful, that I abandoned her, that I owe her something. But I don't. I owe everything to the woman who made space for me when the rest of the world said, not now. Not you. The family photo might have looked perfect without me. But the life I built? It's better because she's not in it.